All right. Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is 5 minutes till 9 a.m. Eastern Time on Quad Witch Day, uh, the end of fall as we know it today. All of the, you know, September stuff rolls off the books officially. Uh, so Friday, September 20th. So as we look back at yesterday's session, right, a little bit of a, you know, for all these indexes we had that huge move up in the overnight session, and it was pretty much just what I consider, there was some, marginal price action above value, but for the most part, uh, you know, from just shortly after the opening bell to around 10:15, that was the best move of the day as far as a spike, and then you just kind of went from that point on. You just went sideways the rest of the day, just kind of pinning. It was pinning action. It was the market makers took it up to where they needed it to be to cover their asses in the overnight session and just left everyone out, hung out to dry as they were just hoping that some big player wasn't going to come in and take them out of that zone so they could, wash all those trades off the books, and they were successful. So that is Wall Street in a nutshell. So looking at yesterday's action, right, between the bells and what that did to value, very tight value areas, right? And then just sitting there, really doing nothing. And keep in mind, it wasn't so much for the Dow, I guess, if as it was for the Nasdaq and the ES, but this is a pattern that is pretty normal on a large gap, right? You sit here, you build overhead supply, you build overhead supply, and to be honest with you, after you put that high of the day, the best trade was the counter trade short, right? Just for a day trade, because you could end up just selling down, and then you're still so far up above yesterday's action. It's still, considered very bullish action and whatever, but, you know, and to be honest with you, the gap and hold, right? You could have just said, set some alerts out of that swing from 9:30 to 10:15, and then, let me know if we get, a quarter of a percent outside of it one way or another, set an alarm and just walk away. And you would have never come back to your computer. You'd have been like, huh, guess nothing's going on. So, anyways, the title of my video today is Quad Witch SPX 5750. So if you look at today's Quad Witch, the largest gamma on the cash is at 5750. The cash closed at 5714 basically yesterday. So, you know, uh, from where it's marked, you got another 36 points basically till you hit this spot, and then you could, it'll probably be a little bit of resistance on a first test, but this could be a magnet area or, a, a time pin. So the majority of the day could be getting to this area after you get away from it. Going into the close, if don't play this for like we're gonna close right on here, we're gonna pin it, we're gonna be successful, but just keep in mind that the majority of the day is probably going to be centered around this strike, which means that futures are going to go up on the ES, right, above yesterday's settlement, probably about 35 points or so. You'll have to see where the marks are once the session's open. Sometimes there's a little bit of difference between the settlement and the futures and the settlement and the cash, right? They're not exactly paired or marked at the same time because one is a bullshit thing and the other one is, right at the close of 4 o'clock. So looking at the other indexes, something else you could watch today for the SPY, because remember, if you trade ES, you have to watch the SPX and the SPY because, you're just making it harder on yourself when you trade that instrument, in my opinion. But 570 to 575 to 576 is where that would be. And right now we're trading uh, 569.92. So we're just slightly under this. We're about $1 under this 570 strike. So more than likely, it could be a little bit of resistance, 10 points up from where we are right now in our first test. But we should get in between this band, I would think, today, and kind of, uh, you know, you got 570, 572, 575. This whole area, could be in play for that today, potentially once you break over 570 and start holding. So keep that on your playbook. And then the Qs are current. There's not a real good marker on the Qs today. The Qs are trading 483 basically right now. So they're, you can see going back down, 480 should be support on a first test. If it's not, once you're under it, it'll probably be resistance for quite a while, and you could just, consolidate under there and then maybe take another shot above it. But if not, if that resistance holds, you could just slide down to 475, and that's what it looks like for the Qs. And then for news today, there's, really not. Bank of Japan stood pat overnight after the Bank of England stood pat yesterday. Uh, and then we've got, a couple central bank people on the mic today, but nothing expected really to move the tape. Uh, so looking at where we are, the point of control from yesterday is 57.78. We're trading 57.70. So once the bell rings, the bulls need to take it over that level and start holding it over that level. Otherwise, if you can't trade it, you've got, another 70, 80 points down that you could go from where we are right now to recheck basically we had points of control that were right around 5,700, just slightly under 5,700 on the futures for 3 days in a row. We could obviously go right back down there again uh, if we, can't hold this level. And that could be, just a long, drawn out bleed down, and it probably won't be quick if that's what happens. Looking at, where support could come from today, we're still watching this 19,903 for the NASDAQ, and potential resistance was the previous swing high on this contract at 20,251. And then for the ES, it really needs to get back above. It had to look above and fail above this all-time high at 57.85 on this contract. So it needs to get back over 57.85, or you have those downside scenario, those downward plays are and should be in focus. So 57.25 would be testing this breakout and then going back under, right? So uh, keep in mind that when I was quoting that SPX, it's the cash market 57.50, not the futures 57.50. There's a difference. So looking at the overnight session, 18 points is all we have so far. And if we look at where we are, we're right at we're in value for the Russell. We're right at value area low for the NASDAQ, right at value area low for the ES. Uh, in the upper side of value for the NASDAQ. Uh, so we could, just keep screwing around. And the point of control, the same kind of play for the NASDAQ. The point of control for yesterday is 20,127. Sorry, 130. 20,130 is what the NASDAQ needs to get over and hold above to be, to have a shot at getting up to yesterday's high. Otherwise, just, same old things, just consolidating. And if you look in the overnight session, and I'm sure there's some type of a fig sequence that lines up with this, at 10 o'clock last night and at 3:30 last night, you hit that high in the Nasdaq at 20,070, right? We just got the stops, did a stop run over that level, and then right back down. So I think that's really your bogey line. I wouldn't watch the overnight high at 75. I know you're splitting hairs here, but I'd really watch those two previous highs. And if you're short if your thesis is short today, I think that's the level that you're really trading against. You don't want to. I would not want to be short or looking for shorts above that level until it come back under it, just as we have just now. I hope this helps. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you on Monday.